Hello and welcome to Knitty Cat Crafts. Join me today as I show you how I made this knit hat just in time for the holiday season. Let's begin with the brim of the hat. Here I am casting on using a long tail cast on. Hold the yarn like this, separate the strands with your thumb and index finger, rotate your hand, and then put your needle under this loop over this one and pull through the hole. Make sure the yarn is not too tight or too loose on the needle. Continue until there are 81 stitches. It's important to keep those stitches all facing the same direction. And here is my tail, and here's my working yarn, and these are on my right needle. Now, to join in the round, we want to slip purlwise one stitch from the left needle onto the right, and then take that now second stitch and move it over the first stitch and off of the needle. And then just pull that stitch tight just a little bit. Add your stitch marker and we begin the ribbing. The ribbing is really simple. Just knit 2 and then purl 2 and repeat to the end of the row. When you get to the end of the row, move your stitch marker and then just repeat that knit 2, purl 2 pattern. Continue until you have 30 rounds. This is obviously going to be a folded brim. If you prefer a brim that doesn't fold, only do 15 rounds or so. And moving on to the body of the hat, I want to quickly show you the pattern. The bottom numbers are the number of stitches that go around the hat, which is 80, and then the numbers going up the right side are the rows or rounds. So there are 22 rows for the body of the hat, and each box represents a knit stitch. Read the pattern from right to left, starting at row 1, stitch 1 in the bottom right corner. As you can see here, the first 2 rows are light green, rows 3 and 4 are dark green, and that's followed by rows 5 and 6, which are white. Then we will continue with the color work starting at row 7. So remember from the pattern, the first 2 rows are light green. I have completed those rows and now I'm moving on to rows 3 and 4, which uses dark green yarn. This is how I like to add a new color. Slip one stitch from the right needle onto the left, and then holding the tail with my right hand, loop that yarn from under and then over the needle, and then slip that stitch back over. And then I like to hold the 2 tails together while I knit the first few stitches of the new color. When you make it all the way around, knit the last 2 stitches together. I find it helpful to hold the tails with my left hand this time and pull those tails tight. Continue with one more round of the dark green yarn, and then we will move on to rows 5 and 6, which use white yarn. Slip one stitch from the right needle onto the left, and then holding the tail with my right hand, loop that yarn from under and then over the needle, and then slip that stitch back over. Continue with 2 rows of white yarn, just like we did with the dark green yarn, and then we will move on to row 7. We will now be introducing red yarn for the lettering. Starting at row 7, remember we are working right to left. So the first 2 stitches are white. Now we need our red yarn. I'm just going to hold the tail with my right hand before I start knitting. And with the red yarn we need 4 stitches, and that will be the bottom of the first O in hoe. Make sure you space those red stitches out, otherwise the body of the hat will be too tight. And then bring up the white yarn again. We need 2 white stitches between the O and the H. So we have our 2 white stitches, 4 red stitches, and then 2 white stitches. That's the bottom of the O. Moving on to the H, we need 2 red stitches. Then we need 2 white stitches. And then 2 more red stitches. And that is the bottom of the first H. And here's a quick look at the back. You can see the yarn that we're carrying over is nice and loose. Now we need 4 white stitches. So that's between the H and the O with the last 2 ho-hos. Then we need 4 red stitches. That's the bottom of the second O. Make sure to spread out those stitches, followed by 2 white stitches. That's between the O and the H. Now looking at the bottom of the H, we need 2 red stitches, 2 white stitches, and 2 more red stitches. Continuing with row 7, 4 more white stitches, 4 red stitches, 2 white stitches. Now we're working on the bottom of the H, so we need 2 red stitches, 2 white, and 2 red. Continue working on row 7. We need 2 more ho-hos to complete row 7. Moving on to row 8, we only need 1 white stitch to begin with, and then we need 6 red stitches. Make sure you really space out those 6 stitches so the body of the hat is not too tight. We need 1 white stitch, and then moving on to the H, we have 2 red, 2 white, and then 2 red. Continuing with row 8, we need 3 white stitches and then 6 more red. We need 1 white stitch, 2 red, two white, and 2 more red. Continue the pattern until you've completed all 22 rows. And finally, we are done with the body of the hat, and we can move on to the top of the hat. To start the decreases, knit 6 and then knit 2 together, repeat to the end of the row. Row 2, knit all stitches. Row 3, knit 5 and then knit 2 together, repeat to the end of the row. Row 4, knit all stitches. Row 5, knit 4 and then knit 2 together to the end of the row. Row 6, knit all stitches. Row 7, knit 3 and then knit 2 together, repeat to the end of the row. Row 8, knit all stitches. Now I'm going to be switching to my DPNs. So for row 9, we're going to knit 2 and then knit 2 together, repeat all the way around. And then when I get all the way around, I have 9 stitches, 9 stitches, and then 12 stitches on that last needle. And then row 10, we're going to knit all stitches. Row 11, knit 1 and then knit 2 together all the way around. And at this point we'll have 6 stitches, 6 stitches, and 8 stitches. And then row 12, knit all stitches. Row 13, knit 2 together all the way around. Then we have 3 stitches, 3 stitches, and 4 stitches. And then row 14, knit all stitches, and that is our last row. Cut the yarn and then put that tail on a tapestry needle and just weave that tapestry needle through each loop as you pull them off the needles. Tighten the yarn, and here is the top of the hat. You can clearly see all of the decreases we just made. Make sure you weave in all of your ends and enjoy your ho 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 hat. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.